1774 में बॉर्बन फैमिली के लुई 16 ने फ्रांस में गद्दी संभाली। वो 20 साल के थे और उनका विवाह ऑस्ट्रिया की प्रिंसेस मैरी एंटोइनेट से हुआ था। राजा बनने पर इन्होंने पाया कि सारा खजाना खाली था। सालों चले युद्ध की वजह से फ्रांस की फाइनेंशियल रिसोर्सेज खत्म हो चुकी थी। इसके साथ वर्साइलेस में एक शानदार कोर्ट को मेंटेन करने का खर्चा अलग था। लुई 16 के अंडर फ्रांस ने 13 अमेरिकन कॉलोनीज को कॉमन एनिमी ब्रिटेन से आजाद होने में मदद की थी। इस युद्ध की वजह से 1 बिलियन लिवरेज का डेट और ज्यादा हो गया था, जो ऑलरेडी 2 बिलियन लिवरेज था। लेंडर्स जो स्टेट को क्रेडिट देते थे, अब लोन्स पर 10% इंटरेस्ट चार्ज करते थे। इस वजह से फ्रेंच गवर्नमेंट अपने बजट का ज्यादा से ज्यादा भाग इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट में देती थी। अपनी रेगुलर एक्सपेंसेस को पूरा करने के लिए, जैसे कि आर्मी और कोर्ट को मेंटेन करना, गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसेज और यूनिवर्सिटीज चलाना, इनके लिए स्टेट को ज्यादा टैक्सेस लगाने पड़े। इससे भी खर्चा पूरा नहीं हुआ। 18वीं सेंचुरी में फ्रेंच सोसाइटी 3 एस्टेट्स में डिवाइडेड थी और सिर्फ थर्ड एस्टेट के मेंबर्स टैक्सेस देते थे। एस्टेट्स की सोसाइटी फ्यूडल सिस्टम का पार्ट थी, जो कि मिडिल एजेस से चल रहा था। टर्म ओल्ड रेजीम 1789 से पहले के फ्रांस की सोसाइटी और इंस्टीट्यूशंस को डिस्क्राइब करता है। इनमें से बहुत कम उस लैंड को ओन करते थे जिसे ये कल्टीवेट करते थे। 60% लैंड नोबल्स, चर्चेस और थर्ड एस्टेट के दूसरे अमीर मेंबर्स ओन करते थे। पहले 2 एस्टेट्स के मेंबर्स यानी कि क्लेर्जी और नोबिलिटी जन्म से कुछ प्रिविलेजेस एंजॉय करते थे। इनमें से सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिविलेज थी स्टेट को टैक्स देने से आजादी। नोबल्स के पास फ्यूडल प्रिविलेजेस थी, जिसमें फ्यूडल ड्यूज शामिल थे जो पेजेंट से एक्सट्रैक्ट होते थे। पेजेंट्स लॉर्ड्स को सर्विस देते थे, उनके घरों, खेतों और आर्मी में काम करते थे और सड़कें बनवाने में मदद करते थे। चर्च भी पेजेंट से अपना शेयर ऑफ टैक्स, जिसे टिथिस कहते थे, एक्सट्रैक्ट करता था। थर्ड एस्टेट के सभी मेंबर्स को स्टेट को टैक्स देने होते थे। टैक्सेस में शामिल था डायरेक्ट टैक्स, जिसे टेले कहते थे। बहुत सारे इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस भी थे जो एवरीडे कंजम्पशन के आर्टिकल्स जैसे कि सॉल्ट और टोबैको पर लगाए जाते थे। टैक्स देने का भार सिर्फ थर्ड एस्टेट पर था। ओल्ड रेजीम के फ्रांस में मोनार्क के पास अपनी इच्छा के अनुसार टैक्स लगाने की पावर नहीं थी। नए टैक्सेस लगाने के लिए मोनार्क को एस्टेट जनरल्स की मीटिंग बुलानी होती थी, जो कि नए टैक्सेस का प्रपोजल पास करती थी। एस्टेट जनरल एक पॉलिटिकल बॉडी थी जिसमें तीनों एस्टेट्स अपने रिप्रेजेंटेटिव भेजते थे। मोनार्क अकेला ही खुद डिसाइड कर सकता था कि एस्टेट की मीटिंग कब बुलानी है। ये आखिरी बार 1614 में हुआ था। 5 मई 1789 में लुई 16 ने नए टैक्सेस के प्रपोजल्स को पास करने के लिए एस्टेट जनरल की मीटिंग बुलाई थी। वर्साइलेस में डेलीगेट्स को होस्ट करने के लिए एक भव्य हॉल तैयार किया गया था। फर्स्ट और सेकंड एस्टेट ने 300 रिप्रेजेंटेटिव भेजे थे, जो कि 2 लाइनों में आमने सामने बैठे थे। थर्ड स्टेट के 600 मेंबर्स को पीछे खड़ा होना था। थर्ड एस्टेट को प्रॉस्परस और एजुकेटेड मेंबर्स रिप्रेजेंट करते थे। पेजेंट्स, आर्टिजन्स और महिलाओं को असेंबली में एंट्री की परमिशन नहीं थी, लेकिन इनके ग्रीवियंसेस और डिमांड्स को 39,000 लेटर्स में लिस्ट किया गया था, जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स अपने साथ लाए थे। एस्टेट जनरल की वोटिंग पास्ट में इस आधार पर होती थी कि हर एक एस्टेट का एक वोट था। इस बार भी किंग लुई 16 इसी प्रैक्टिस को कंटिन्यू करना चाहते थे, लेकिन थर्ड एस्टेट के मेंबर्स चाहते थे कि वोटिंग असेंबली एज अ होल की तरह हो, जहां हर एक मेंबर का एक वोट हो। ये उन डेमोक्रेटिक प्रिंसिपल्स में से एक था जो कि रूसो द्वारा लिखी गई किताब सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में दिए गए थे। जब किंग ने इस प्रपोजल को रिजेक्ट कर दिया, तो थर्ड एस्टेट के कुछ मेंबर्स असेंबली से प्रोटेस्ट में उठकर चले गए। थर्ड एस्टेट की रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स अपने आप को पूरी फ्रेंच नेशन के स्पोक्समैन मानते थे। 20 जुलाई को ये वर्साइलेस के ग्राउंड में इंडोर टेनिस के हॉल में जमा हुए। इन्होंने अपने आप को नेशनल असेंबली डिक्लेयर कर दिया और फैसला किया कि वहां से तब तक नहीं जाएंगे जब तक कि फ्रांस का नया कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ड्राफ्ट नहीं हो जाता और मोनार्क की पावर्स कम नहीं हो जाती। इनके लीडर मिराबो और एबिसाइज थे। मिराबो नोबल फैमिली में पैदा हुए थे और फ्यूडल प्रिविलेज को खत्म करने में विश्वास रखते थे। इन्होंने एक जर्नल निकाला था और वर्साइलेस में असेंबल्ड क्राउड को पावरफुल स्पीचेस दी थी। एबेसीएस ओरिजिनली प्रीस्ट थे और इन्होंने एक इन्फ्लुएंशियल पैम्फलेट निकाला था, व्हाट इज द थर्ड एस्टेट। जब नेशनल असेंबली वर्साइलेस में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ड्राफ्ट करने में बिजी थी, पूरे फ्रांस में टर्मोइल था। एक सीवियर विंटर की वजह से हार्वेस्ट अच्छी नहीं थी, ब्रेड का प्राइस बढ़ गया था और बेकर सिचुएशन को एक्सप्लॉइट करते थे और सप्लाईज को होल्ड करते थे। बेकरी में घंटों लंबी कतारों में खड़े होने के बाद गुस्साई महिलाओं ने शॉप्स लूट ली थी। इसी समय किंग ने ट्रूप्स को पेरिस में आने का ऑर्डर दिया। 14 जुलाई को एजिटेटेड क्राउड ने बैस्टिल को नष्ट कर दिया। कंट्री साइड में ये रूमर फैल गई कि मैनर के लॉर्ड्स ने राइप क्रॉप्स को नष्ट करने के लिए लुटेरों को हायर किया है। डर और अस्थिरता के माहौल में फ्रांस के अलग अलग डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में लोगों ने होज और पिचफॉक्स लेकर चेटों पर अटैक कर दिया। इन्होंने होर्डेड ग्रेन को लूटा और मैनोरियल ड्यूज के डॉक्यूमेंट्स जला दिए। बहुत बड़ी संख्या में नोबल्स अपने घरों से भाग गए और इनमें से ज्यादातर नेबरिंग कंट्रीज में चले गए। रिवोल्टिंग सब्जेक्ट्स की वजह से लुई 16 ने फाइनली नेशनल असेंबली को रिकॉग्निशन दी और स्वीकार किया कि अब से राजा की पावर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन द्वारा चेक्ड होंगी। 4 अगस्त 1789 को असेंबली ने डिक्री पास की जिससे कि ऑब्लिगेशन और टैक्सेस के फ्यूडल सिस्टम को अबॉलिश किया गया। क्लर्जी के मेंबर्स ने भी अपनी प्रिविलेजेस गिव अप कर दी। टिथेस अबॉलिश हो गए और चर्च की लैंड को कॉन्फिस्केट कर लिया गया। इसकी वजह से गवर्नमेंट को 2 बिलियन लिवर्स के असेट हासिल हुए।
The population of France rose from about 23 million in 1715 to 28 million in 1789. This led to a rapid increase in the demand for food grains. Production of grains could not keep pace with the demand. So the price of bread, which was the staple diet of the majority, rose rapidly. Most workers were employed as laborers in workshops whose owners fixed their wages. But wages did not keep pace with the rise in prices. So the gap between the poor and the rich widened. Things became worse whenever drought or hail reduced the harvest. This led to a subsistence crisis, something that occurred frequently in France during the old regime. The struggle to survive. Part 2. A growing middle class envisages an end to privileges. In the past, peasants and workers had participated in revolts against increasing taxes and food scarcity. But they lacked the means and programs to carry out full-scale measures that would bring about a change in the social and economic order. This was left to those groups within the Third Estate who had become prosperous and had access to education and new ideas. The 18th century witnessed the emergence of social groups termed the middle class, who earned their wealth through an expanding overseas trade and from the manufacture of goods such as woolen and silk textiles. That were either exported or bought by the richer members of society. In addition to merchants and manufacturers, the Third Estate included professionals such as lawyers or administrative officials. All of these were educated and believed that no group in society should be privileged by birth. Rather, a person's social position must depend on his merit. These ideas, envisaging a society based on freedom and equal laws and opportunities for all, were put forward by philosophers such as John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. In his two treatises of government, Locke sought to refute the doctrine of the divine and absolute right of the monarch. Rousseau carried the idea forward, proposing a form of government based on a social contract between people and their representatives. In the spirit of the laws, Montesquieu proposed a division of power within the government between the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. This model of government was put into force in the USA after the 13 colonies declared their independence from Britain. The American Constitution and its guarantee of individual rights was an important example for political thinkers in France. The ideas of these philosophers were discussed intensively in salons and coffee houses and spread among people through books and newspapers. These were frequently read aloud in groups for the benefit of those who could not read and write. The news that Louis XVI planned to impose further taxes to be able to meet the expenses of the state generated anger and protest against the system of privileges. The National Assembly completed the draft of the Constitution in 1791. Its main objective was to limit the powers of the monarch. These powers, instead of being concentrated in the hands of one person, were now separated and assigned to different institutions in the legislature, executive, and judiciary. This made France a constitutional monarchy. The Constitution of 1791 vested the power to make the laws in the National Assembly, which was indirectly elected. That is, citizens voted for a group of electors who in turn chose the assembly. Not all citizens, however, had the right to vote. Only men above 25 years of age who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days of a laborer's wage were given the status of active citizens, that is, they were entitled to vote. The remaining men and all women were classed as passive citizens. To qualify as an elector and then as a member of the assembly, a man had to belong to the highest bracket of taxpayers. The Constitution began with a declaration of the rights of man and citizen. Rights such as right to life, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, equality before law, were established as natural and inalienable rights. That is, they belonged to each human by birth and could not be taken away. It was the duty of the state to protect each citizen's natural rights. France abolishes monarchy and becomes a republic. Part 1. The situation in France continued to be tense during the following years. Although Louis XVI had signed the constitution, he entered into secret negotiations with the King of Prussia. Rulers of other neighboring countries too were worried by the developments in France and made plans to send troops to put down the events that had been taking place there since the summer of 1789. Before this could happen, the National Assembly voted in April 1792 to declare war against Prussia and Austria. Thousands of volunteers thronged from the provinces to join the army. They saw this as a war of the people against kings and aristocracies all over Europe. Among the patriotic songs they sang was the Marseillaise, composed by the poet Roger de Lille. It was sung for the first time by volunteers from Marseille as they marched into Paris and so got its name. The Revolutionary Wars brought losses and economic difficulties to the people. While the men were away fighting at the front, women were left to cope with the tasks of earning a living and looking after their families. Large sections of the populations were convinced that the revolution had to be carried further, as the Constitution of 1791 gave political rights only to the richer sections of society. Political clubs became an important rallying point for people who wished to discuss government policies and plan their own forms of action. The most successful of these clubs was that of the Jacobins, which got its name from the former convent of Saint Jacob in Paris. Women too, who had been active throughout this period, formed their own clubs. The members of the Jacobin Club belonged mainly to the less prosperous sections of society. They included small shopkeepers, artisans such as shoemakers, pastry cooks, watchmakers, printers, as well as servants and daily wage workers. Their leader was Maximilien Robespierre. A large group among the Jacobins decided to start wearing long striped trousers similar to those worn by dock workers. This was to set themselves apart from the fashionable sections of society, especially nobles who wore knee breeches. It was a way of proclaiming the end of power wielded by the wearers of knee breeches. France abolishes monarchy and becomes a republic.
Part 2.
These Jacobins came to be known as the sans-culottes, literally meaning those without knee breeches. sans-culotte men wore in addition the red cap that symbolized liberty. Women, however, were not allowed to do so. In the summer of 1792, the Jacobins planned an insurrection of a large number of Parisians who were angered by the short supplies and high prices of food. On the morning of August 10, they stormed the palace of the Tuileries, massacred the king's guards, and held the king himself as hostage for several hours. Later, the assembly voted to imprison the royal family. Elections were held. From now on, all men of 21 years and above, regardless of wealth, got the right to vote. The newly elected assembly was called the Convention. On 21st September 1792, it abolished the monarchy and declared France a republic. As you know, a republic is a form of government where the people elect the government, including the head of the government. There is no hereditary monarchy. Louis XVI was sentenced to death by a court on the charge of treason. On 21st January 1793, he was executed publicly at the Place La Concorde. The Queen Marie Antoinette met with the same fate shortly after. The Reign of Terror. The period from 1793 to 1794 is referred to as the Reign of Terror. Robespierre followed a policy of severe control and punishment. All those whom he saw as being enemies of the Republic, ex-nobles and clergy, members of other political parties, even members of his own party who did not agree with his methods, were arrested, imprisoned, and then tried by a revolutionary tribunal. If the court found them guilty, they were guillotined. The guillotine is a device consisting of two poles and a blade with which a person is beheaded. It was named after Dr. Guillotine, who invented it. Robespierre's government issued laws practicing a maximum ceiling on wages and prices. Meat and bread were rationed. Peasants were forced to transport their grains to the cities and sell it at prices fixed by the government. The use of more expensive white flour was forbidden. All citizens were required to eat the pain d'égalité, equality bread, a loaf made of whole wheat. Equality was also sought to be practiced through forms of speech and address. Instead of the traditional monsieur, sir, and madame, madam, all French men and women were henceforth citoyen and citoyenne. Churches were shut down and their buildings converted into barracks or offices. Robespierre pursued his policies so relentlessly that even his supporters began to demand moderation. Finally, he was convicted by a court in July 1794, arrested, and on the next day sent to the guillotine. The abolition of slavery. The abolition of slavery. One of the most revolutionary social reforms of the Jacobin regime was the abolition of slavery in the French colonies. The colonies in the Caribbean, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and San Domingo were important suppliers of commodities such as tobacco, indigo, sugar, and coffee. But the reluctance of Europeans to go and work in distant and unfamiliar lands meant a shortage of labor on the plantations. So this was met by a triangular slave trade between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. The slave trade began in the 17th century. French merchants sailed from the ports of Bordeaux or Nantes to the African coast, where they bought slaves from local chieftains. Branded and shackled, the slaves were packed tightly into ships for the 3-month-long voyage across the Atlantic to the Caribbean. There they were sold to plantation owners. The exploitation of slave labor made it possible to meet the growing demand in European markets for sugar, coffee, and indigo. Port cities like Bordeaux and Nantes owed their economic prosperity to the flourishing slave trade. Throughout the 18th century, there was little criticism of slavery in France. The National Assembly held long debates about whether the rights of man should be extended to all French subjects, including those in the colonies. But it did not pass any laws, fearing opposition from businessmen whose incomes depended on the slave trade. It was finally the Convention which in 1794 legislated to free all slaves in the French overseas possessions. This, however, turned out to be a short-term measure. 10 years later, Napoleon reintroduced slavery. Plantation owners understood their freedom as including the right to enslave African Negroes in pursuit of their economic interests. Slavery was finally abolished in French colonies in 1848.